We've heard about it. I don't really think too much of Ortiz. Everybody thinks he's the most scary guy in the division. I'm another scary guy in the division. No one wants to fight him and no one wants to fight me. I guess they're giving me the task to go beat his old ass. But if I go beat up the number one hardest guy in the division, after I beat him up, where does that leave me? Then nobody's going to want to fight me. The only way I'll take that fight is if I get a mandatory title shot directly after that. After I whoop his old ass. I want a mandatory title shot. I'll go at Anthony Joshua or have the WBO give me the winner of Joseph Parker and Hughie Fury. There's a reason why they're staying away from me. If I take that Ortiz fight, they've got to give me some kind of guarantee because I'm going to beat the brakes off that old motherfucker. That's how I see it. I never ran, never will. None of the top fighters are calling my name out. But Eddie Hearn, he thinks he's smart, but he's really a jackass. He's trying to put the biggest threat to Anthony Joshua off with his little side work, which is Luis Ortiz. He's trying to keep all the big threats away from Joshua, and I get it. But at the same time, after I whoop his old ass, you're going to give me AJ's head on a platter. That's how I see it. So unless he wants to do that, then I don't see no reason to take on the Ortiz fight. Because I beat him, no one's going to want to fight me. Everyone's going to bypass me. So give me a mandatory title shot, the WBO or the IBF. Let's see him put his money where his mouth is. Simple as that. From what I heard, the money sounds decent. But like I said, I'm fighting for a legacy. My thing is, what happens after the Ortiz fight? Where do I stand after the Ortiz fight? I'm not a normal fighter. I think about these things. That's why you hear about things about me dealing with different promoters, because you're not going to shit on me. I'd prefer to go back and cut grass with my cousin Julio than to jump in the ring for a couple grand and let these motherfuckers take advantage of me. Like I said, it's not just about taking the Ortiz fight. It's about everything after the Ortiz fight. Those are the words of outspoken Brooklyn undefeated heavyweight contender Jarrell Big Baby Miller, speaking about the prospect of fighting Luis Ortiz. Interesting things he was saying there. He only is interested in taking the Ortiz fight if he gets a guaranteed title shot afterwards. And that is a realistic prospect, actually. Because Ortiz, last time I checked, was the mandatory challenger with the WBA. I'm not sure if the WBA rules are the same as the WBO rules, but if you remember when Joseph Parker was IBF rules. If you remember when Joseph Parker was the IBF mandatory challenger for Anthony Joshua, they were talking about making him versus David Price on a Joshua undercard in the latter months of 2016. And they were saying that David Price fight, Joseph Parker versus Price, will be a final eliminator. Because once you become mandatory challenger with the IBF, any fight you have after that is automatically a final eliminator again. So you can wait and wait and wait until your mandatory shot gets called, or you can keep on fighting and every fight will just serve as an eliminator, which basically means that you don't gain anything from those fights other than maybe experience and shaking rust off. But your opponent can gain something from it because they can inherit your mandatory position. If that's the case with the WBA, because remember, Joshua and Klitschko are fighting for the WBA super belt, and Luis Ortiz is the mandatory challenger for that WBA super title. So if Jarrell Miller fights Ortiz and beats him and is able to inherit that mandatory position, then I guess this fight is a go. So it may well be realistic for Jarrell Miller to fight Luis Ortiz. And we all hope it is, because the response I've seen is that the majority of boxing fans like this fight. Jarrell Miller versus Luis Ortiz, two big guys. Jarrell Miller, I think, is a legit 6'4". Ortiz, I'm not sure about. Miller is nearly 300 pounds in weight, 285 pounds. Is a very, very big guy, strong guy, confident guy. And I'm sure he will present a very interesting challenge for Luis Ortiz, to say the least. So drop your comments in the comment section below, people. Let me know how you feel about the prospect of this particular fight. Let me know what you think about Jarrell Miller's views here, in terms of, he says there's no point in fighting Ortiz unless I get a mandatory shot, because people are just going to avoid me more than ever if I beat Ortiz and I don't have a mandatory shot in place. I personally think that's a pretty salient point he's making there. I can't really argue with what he's saying. Maybe some of you can. If you can, let me know below. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.